Please join me in welcoming our guests. Are we going to have microphones at each chair, or shall we? Yes? Okay, good. Okay, good. So, today's panel, our first panel of the conference, is going to be about preventing the reemergence of Daesh, of ISIS. Now, I'm not going to say so much about it, but I would like to make a few points. Whenever we talk about preventing the reemergence of an insurgency, of a challenge to legal powers ruling over a territory, we tend to bring up a few themes. On one hand, we have the theme of continuing security operations, police, military, various coercive counterinsurgency strategies to prevent the reemergence of these kinds of actors. But also, we talk about the necessity for rebuilding, for reconstruction, for economic development that makes the ground less fertile for the emergence of contesters for state power, if you will, whether they're nefarious or benign, whether they're freedom fighters or terrorists of the Daesh variety. We talk about improving the communities which spawned them or which they thrived in. Those are two basics that we talk about. And then a third issue we often talk about is changes, reforms to the political landscape, to power sharing, to giving a role to various communities in the political process so that they don't feel the need to support actors outside the legal system who would function outside the legitimate political system. If you want actors to play the game within the political system, you have to give them a role in it. So those are three general themes I think we're likely to hear from all our guests, all our distinguished panelists today. I'm also hoping, as the chair of the panel, that they could give us as many specific examples of the kinds of strategies we might use, or if there's a fourth or fifth element to the overall strategy that I omitted, if they could give us as many examples as possible for the kinds of policies that could prevent the reemergence of ISIS. And I think I'll leave it at that, and I'll introduce our first speaker. And I'm going to give an opportunity to each of the panelists after each presentation to ask a question or make a comment about something before we go on to the next speaker. And once we've done this for all five of our speakers, we will open it up to question and answer from the audience, if that's acceptable. Does that work for all of you? Oh, great. So you'll have the choice of speaking where you are or coming up to the podium for your presentation. So first, I'd like to introduce Delawar Al-Adin. He's the founding president of the Middle East Research Institute, MERI. And this is a policy research institute and think tank based in Erbil. I've read many of their reports, and I think they're fulfilling a great need in the region for some good think tank studies on the problems facing the Kurdistan region. Dr. Al-Adin is also a former KRG Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research from 2009 to 2012. And he played a major role in the bursary program that sent many students from the Kurdistan region abroad. I received some students in that program at Missouri State University. I was very happy to have them. He was a professor of medicine at Nottingham University in the UK, and he has published extensively on the political dynamics, rule of law, governance systems in the Middle East, in general and in Iraq and the Kurdistan region in particular. His latest books include State Building, A Roadmap to the Rule of Law and Institutionalization in the Kurdistan Region of Iraq from 2018, and Nation Building and the System of Governance in the Kurdistan Region from 2013. So please join me in welcoming Dilawa Al-Din for his talk.
Thank you, David, and good morning, everybody. It is a privilege to be here with you, and thank you for the invitation. And I want to thank the organizers, especially Kak Hemen, who's standing there working hard. With your permission, Chairman, I will be speaking in Kurdish, unless the whole panel is in English. Barizan, یەکی تەمووزی 2016 لە ئومەم متحیدە بڕیارێکیان لەخۆ گرت. بڕیارەکە بە ناوی ستراتیژی بەرەنگاربوونەوەی توندوتیژی جیهانی Global Counterterrorism Strategy. لەو استراتیژەدا لەسەر بنەمای پلانێک بوو کەوا سەرۆکی ئومەم متحیدە پێشکەشی کرد بوو. زیاتر لە 70 خاڵ لەخۆ دەگری. ئەگەر خاڵەکان خورد بکەیەوە و سەیری کەی لە چ بوارێکدایە، ئەگەر سەیری پێکهاتەکانی ئەو 70 خاڵە بکەی کە بۆ ئەوە دروست کراوە کە یونایتد نیشن ئامۆژگاری و پاڵپشتی دەوڵەتەکانی ئەندام لە یونایتد نیشن بکە بۆ ئەوەی کە بەرەنگاری دیاردەی تەرۆریزم ببنەوە، خاڵەکان بۆ ئەوە دروستکراون کە لە ئەزمون بێ لە ڕێگەی موسساتیەوە بێ کە پاڵپشتی وڵاتان بکرێت، سەیری 70 خاڵەکە بکەی، هەمووشی کۆبکەیەوە لە یەک خاڵدا دەتوانی پوختیکەی. بە نسبەتی خۆمەوە کە سەیری خاڵەکان بکرد، ئەویش پێی دەڵێن حکمی دروست، فەرمانڕەوایەتی دروست، الحکم الرەشید، good governance. جاگەر بێت و قسەکانی خۆم پەیامەکانی خۆم لە 3 خاڵ کۆ بکەمەوە لە بیدایەت و لە ناوڕاست و لە کۆتایی. یەکەمیان دامەزراندنی سیستەمی فەرمانڕەوایەتی دروستە، دووەمیان دامەزراندنی سیستەمی فەرمانڕەوایەتی دروستە، سەیەمیشیان دامەزراندنی سیستەمی فەرمانڕەوایەتی دروستە. لەبەرچی ئەگەر سەیری سیستەمی فەرمانڕەوایەتی دروستکەی چوارچێوەیەکە کۆمەڵێک پێکهاتەی تێدایە. ئەو پێکهاتانە بنەمانە بۆ دروستکردنی وڵات، نیشتمان، بە ئینگلیزی دەڵێن nation building. ئەو پێکهاتانەشی تێدایە کە لە هەموو بوارێکی توێژینەوەدا باز دەکرێت کە سەبەبێکە بۆ دروستکردنی توندڕەوی و توندوتیژی و تێرۆریزم. فەرمانڕەوایەتی دروست لەسەر بنەمای سەروەرێتی یاسا دروست بووە. سەروەرکردنی یاسا ئەو بنەمایی نیشتمانسازیە کە پەیوەندی لە بینی دەسەڵات و هاوڵاتی دروست دەکات. وەدەکە هاوڵاتی نەک تەنها متمانەی هەبێ بە حکومەتەکەی، بە دەسەڵاتەکەی، نەک تەنها خۆشگوزەرانی بۆ مسۆگەر بکرێ و دەرفەتی بۆ یەکسان بکرێت، ئامادە دەبێت خۆی بە قوربانی وڵاتەکەی بکات. وەلای بای ئەوەندە دەبێت خۆی دەبتە ڕێگر لە بەردەم تەرۆریزم. فەرمانڕەوایەتی دروست پێویستی بە تۆکمەکردنی دامەزراوەکانی حکومەتە کە تێیاندا یاسا بەرجەستە بکرێت، هاوڵاتی ڕازی بکرێت، خزمەتگوزاری جوان پێشکەش بکرێت، سیستمی تەندروستی چاک بکرێت، پەروەردە ئاودانی مێشتی نەوەکان، بە تواناکردنی لاوان، یەکسانکردنی جەندەر، دروستکردنی دەرفەتی یەکسان و هاندان بۆ نیوەی کۆمەلگا کە دەکات ڕۆلی ئافرە لە کۆمەلگا لە ئاشتەوایی لە پەروەردەکردنی ئەجیال لە بەشداریکردن لە دروستکردن لە اقتصاد لە پێشڕەوێتی سیستەمی فەرمانڕەواتی دروست دیسانەوە پەیوەستە بە یەکسانکردنی دەرفەتی بزنس بۆ تۆکمەکردنی ئابووری بۆ گەشەپێدانی کەرتی تایبەت و کەرتی گشتی بۆ دروستکردنی دەرفەتی کار بۆ مسۆگەرکردنی بژێوی ژیانی خەڵک لە لاوەوە بگرا تاوەکو خێزان دروستکردنی دەرفەتی کار یەکێک لە بنەما ئاساسیەکانە بۆ ڕێگرتن لە تێرۆریزم کەواتە گەشەپێدانی ئابووری و فرە ئابووری پەیوەستە بە فەرمانڕەواتی دروست کۆنتڕۆڵکردنی گەندەڵی پەیوەستە بە فەرمانڕەواتی دروست پەیوەستە بە سەروەرکردنی یاسا و جێبەجێکردنی یاسا کە باس لە پەروەردەی منداڵ دەکەی هەتا گەورە باس لە خیتابی دینی دەکەی بۆ بەرەنگاربوونەوەی تونند و تیژی بۆ دروستکردنی کەشی تەبایی و سینگفراوانی و لێبوردەیی و یەکتر قبولکردن و پێی دەرێن ریکۆنسیلیشن و کۆگزیستنس و سۆشیەل کۆهیژن ئەوانە هەمووی پەیوەستن بە سەروەری یاسا و عەدالەتی کۆمەڵایەتی ناتوانی هیچ لەوانە بەرجەستە بکەی ئەگەر بێت و یاسا سەروەر نەبێ و دەرفەت یەکسان نەبێ و عەدالەتی کۆمەڵایەتی بەرجەستە نەکرێن وەختێک کە باس لە مۆنۆپۆلی توندوتیژی لە دەستی دەوڵەت ئەوە تەرجمەیەکی کوردانەیە بۆ عەرەبیەکەی حەصر السلاح حەصر العنف بيد الدولة يعني monopoly of violence in the hand of the state وەختێک کە هێزی چەکدارت پەرتەوازە بێ وەختێک کە کۆمەلگاکەت لێکترازاو بێ وەختێک کۆمەلگاکەت بە مکەویناتە بچووک و گەورەکانیەوە چەکدار بێ وەختێک کە فەرماندەیی و کۆنتڕۆڵ کە دەکا قیادە و سەیتەڕە یعنی کۆماند ئەند کۆنتڕۆڵ بۆ ئاکتەرەکانی چەکدار لە دەستی دەوڵەت نەبوو لە دەستی حکومەت نەبوو دیسان سیستەمی فەرمانڕەواتی لاواز دەبێت لەرزۆک دەبێت ئەوانە ئەو پێک هاتانن کە ناکرێ بە بژاردەیی یەکەچا هەڵبژێری برێ ئەوە کێشەکەی من حەڵ دەکات ناتوانانی بڵێ ئێمە مشکلەی ئێجوکیشنمانێ مشکلەی هۆشیارکردنەوەمانێ مشکلەی میدیامانێ نەخێر بەتەنێ نییە میدیاکەشت کە دەگاتە ئاستی ئەنارکی کە میدیا ئازادیەکەشی دەگاتە ئاستی فەوزا عیلاقی بە یاسا سەروەری هەیە کەواتە لێرە ئەو پێکهاتانی باسییان دەکەین ناتوانین بە بژاردەیی بڵێن ئیستثمار بەس لە اقتصاد دەکەین بەس لە دۆزینەوەی کار دەکەین بەس لە دامەزراوە و ڕیفۆرمی حکومەت دەکەین بەس لە کۆنتڕۆلی گەندەڵی دەکەین ئەو پاکیجە ئەو چوارچێوەیە هەمووی بەیەکەوەیە بۆیە دەبێت کاری حکومەتەکانمان بە هەمەتەوەڕ لە چەندین لایەن بۆ هەمان مەبەست بێ ئەویش سیستەمی فەرمانڕەواتی دروست ئەگەر سیستەمی فەرمانڕەواتی دروست بی ئەمە طبعا جیاوازە لە دیموکراسیە لەم باسی دیموکراسیەتم نەکردووە دیموکراسیەت شتێکە تەتەوڕ دەکات ئیڤۆلوشنی چەند جیلێکە ئیشی پەرلەمانە ئیشی حیزبەکانە بەس حکومەت ئیشی حکومەتە کە تۆکمەکردنی دامەزراوەکان تۆکمەکردنی سیستەمی حکومڕانیە ئەو وڵاتانەی کە سیستەمی حکومڕانیان تۆکمەیە دیموکراسی بنیان نەبن لەوە ناترسن چەند لاوێک تووشی داوی توندڕەوی و توندوتیژیان تێرۆریزم دەبێت چونکە ڕەنگە بواری نەفسی خەڵک دەهەژێنن لە کاتی دەنگۆی حادیسەیەک بەڵام سیستم ناهەژێ وڵاتەکە ناهەژێ کۆمەلگاکان لێک ناترازێن بەڵام لە وڵاتانی شەرقی ئەوسەد سەیری کە سیستمی فەرمانڕەوایەتیان لەرزۆکە فراجایل هەش بە عەرەبی سەیری دەکەی داوی تێرۆریزمی ڕوو لە تەشەنە دەکات سەیری عێراقکەین چونکە دەمەوێت تەئکید بکەمەوە لەوەی کە تێرۆریزم شتێکی نوێ نییە ڕاستە داعش و ئەلقاعیدا بروزیان پێکرد دەریان خست ئێستا فۆکەسی دنیا کەوتە سەر ژێرناوی ئەلقاعیدە و ئایسس و بۆکۆ حەرام بەڵام لە ڕاستیدا لەگەر بەشەریەت توندوتیژی هەبووە بەڵام کە دەبێتە تێرۆریزم و تەشەنە دەکات دەبتە شەبەکەی جیهانی بۆ تێکدانی شلەقانی بارودۆخ ئەمە علاقەی بە سیستمی فەرمانڕەواتی لەرزۆکە. ئەو عێراقی کە دەیڤید ڕۆمانۆ باسی کرد 100 ساڵە حکومەتەکەی مؤسساتی نەبووە، دەوڵەتداری دەوڵەت دروستکردنی تیان نەکراوە، بیناء الدەولە وبناء الوطن، يعني نيشن بيلدينج ستيت بيلدينج، نیشتمان سازی دەوڵەت سازی تێدا ئەنجام نەدراوە. بۆیە ئەو شەرقی ئەوسەتا شوێنێکی زۆر بە پیتە بۆ تەشانەکردنی تێرۆریزم. ئەگەر سەیری عێراقی نوێ بکەی، چوارچێوە دەستوریە دموکراسی جوانەکەی بۆی دروستکرا، زەمانەتێک بوو، نەخشەرەگایەک بوو بۆی ڕێگە بگرێت لە تێرۆریزم. بەڵام چی قەومە؟ حکومەکەی ئێمە لە 2003 هەتا ئێرە لە لەرزۆکی بۆ لەرزۆکتر بۆ لەرزۆرتر نزیک بوو لە فەشەل، يعني شکست، failing state، يعني عێراق خەریک بوو بتە failed state نەبوو، بەڵام هەر بەرەو لەرزۆکی چووە. عێراق گەیشتە حەدی نەگەڕانەوە، irreversible، no return. لە چی؟ لە لەرزۆکی، لە بەرەوەی سیستمی ئەمنیەکەی داهێزرا. ئەوانەی دەرەوەی دەوڵەت ئێستا بە قوترن لە ڕووی سیلاحەوە، کۆماندن کۆنترۆلیان بەرەو حکومەت نییە، وەلایان بەرەو حکومەت و مەرجەعیەکەیان حکومەت نییە. لەگەڵ ئەوەشدا سەیری فەساد و گەندەڵی و لاوازی سیادی قانون گەیشت ئەو حەدەی کە تازە هەڵسانەوەی زەحمەت بووە. ئەگەر سەیری جوگرافیای عێراقەکەی سێ خانە دەدۆزیەوە. خانەیەکیان ئەو عێراقەیە کە باقی عێراقە کە ئێستاش سیستمە لەرزۆکیەکەی گەیشتۆتە ئەو حەدەی ئەگەر ئیمڕۆ هاوکاری هاوپەیمانەکان و داعمی مخابەراتی و عەسکەری هێزە دەرەچیەکان نەبێ، ئیمڕۆ ئەنبار و تکری دەگیرێت. ئەمە قسەی خەبیرەکانی ئەمنیە لە هەفتەی ڕابردوو لە بەغدا لەگەر زۆریان دانیشتن لە کۆنفرانسێکی هاوشێوە. زۆربیان لەو قەناعەتەدا بوون ئێستا عێراق بەتەنێ بێ، ئیمڕۆ ئەنبار و تکری دەکەوێت، ڕەنگە مووسڵ نەکەوێت لە بەرەوەی هێزێکی زۆری تێدایە. کەواتە باقی عێراق ئەمە خانەیەکە لا یەزال بەو لەرزۆکیە ماوەتەوە. خانەی دووەم هەرێمی کوردستانە. هەرێمی کوردستانیش کێرڤەکەی وەکو عێراق بەرە خوارە لە مەوزوعی لاوازی سیستمی حکمڕانیەکەی. ئەو نەخۆشیانەی لە عێراق هەنا ئێمە هەمومان هەیە، بۆیە زۆر دڵمان بەوە خۆش نەبی کە ئێمە بڵین حکممان تۆکمەیە. بەڵام فەرقمان لەگەڵ عێراق چییە؟ ئێمە ئێستا نەگەیشتینە ئەو خەتەی کە نەگەڕێینەوە irreversible بین. توانای هەسانەوەمان بە قووەتە. سیستمی ئەمنیمان وەکو عێراق نییە پەرتەوازەیەکەی بەو دەرەجە بێ کە کۆماندن کۆنترۆل لە دەستی مەرکەز دەرچوو بێ، ویان موسسەکانمان گەیشت بنە ئەو ڕادەیەی کە توانای هەسانەوەیان نەبێیان کۆنترۆلمان بەسەریاندا نەبێ. بۆیە کوردستان پاشایە لە چاو باقی عێراق کە دێتە سەر مەسەلەی لەرزۆکییان، مەسەلەی حکمڕانی. بەڵام ئەگەر لێی بگەڕێن بە وەزعی تێکدایە، ئێمەش دەگەین ئەو خەتە لاڕتێدا. ئەگەر لە خافڵ ببین، زۆرش لە خۆمان ڕازی ببین، ئێمەش ئیتیجاهمان بەرەو خوارەیە. چونکە بەوادری یەکگرتن و چاکبوونەوەمان لەگەر بەوادری تێکچوونمان وەکو یەکە ئێستا. پێویستی بە قیادەکردنی پرۆسەیەکی گرنگە، پێویستی بە ڤژن و استراتیژیەکە، پێویستی بە لیدەرشپێکە کە بەڕاستی لە وەزعەدا بە ڤژن و بە استراتیژیەکی 10 ساڵی ئەو حکومە باوە جوانی تۆکمە بکە هەڵی سێنتەوە. خانەی سێممان چییە لە عێراق؟ ناوچە جێناوکەکان و ناوچە کوردستانیەکانی دەرەوەی هەرێمن. لەبەر ئەوەی فەراغی ئەمنی هەیە و لەبەرەوەی بۆشایی ئیداریش هەیە و لەبەرەوەی ململانەی بینی هەولێر و بەغدا هەیە و لەبەرەوەی کۆمەلگاکان و پێکهاتەکانی کریستیان و یەزیدی و شەبەک و تورکمان و کورد و عەرەب هەمووی لێکترازاون لەوێ، هەمووش چەکدار کراون. معنای وێت دنیایەکی جیاوازە لە هەرێم، دنیایەکی جیاوازە لە بەغدا. سەیری ئەوێ کە داعش چۆن سەری هەڵداوەتەوە. ئیمڕۆ داعش بە بێ شاردنەوە، بە بێ شەرم، ئێستا توانای زیندیبوونەوە و تەشەنەکردن و دەستوەشانی هەیە. بۆیە بەغدا و هەولێر دەبێ ئەو وەزعە بەرەو ئاقارە ببن کە لەوێش بۆشایی ئەمنی نەمێنێ و بۆشایی ئیداری و سیاسی نەمێنێ، کۆمەلگاکانیشیان دڵنیا بێتەوە. دێمە سەر چارەسەر. چارەسەر دیسان کەلیمەکەی سیستمی فەرمانڕەواتی دروستە. لە ئاستی بە ئینگلیزی پێڵەن vertical and horizontal، بە کوردی پێدەڵێن بە قیتی و بە تەنیشتا و تەنیش، نازانم کەلیمێکی باشترم نییە لەوە. ئاسۆیستونی بەڵی قیتێکە خۆشترە بە ئاسۆیستونی و بە دەبێ ئیشیان لەسەر بکەین لە ئاستی تاکە کەسدا پەروەردەی تاکە کەس دروستکردنی متمانایە لە نێوان حکومەت و هاوڵاتی زائیدەن پەروەردەی مێشک و دەروون هۆشیارکردنەوە ئەو شتانن کە دەکات تاکە کەس لە پەروەردەوە ئامادە بێ ببتە هاوڵاتێکی باش کردبوو بە جاحێر کوڕ کچ یەکسانی دەرفەت زائیدەن تەمکینیان بۆ ئەوی کار بدۆزنەوە بۆ ئەوی باری بژێوی خۆیان چاک بکەن ئەمە تاکە کەسە زۆر شتی تریش لەخۆڵ دەگرێت لە ئاستی خێزان دیسان بژێوی ژیان هەیە و هۆشیارکردنەوە هەیە و تەسیری میدیا هەیە لەیان بەشداریەوان شعور بکەن وڵاتەی خۆیانە بەشدارن لە پرۆسەی بڕیاردا ئەو جێدەیە ئاستی کۆمەلگا ڕێکخراوەکانی کۆمەلگای مەدەنی ئەو جا خێزان و عەشرەت و ئاین و قیادەی ئاینی هەر یەکەی ڕۆلی هەیە لە هۆشیارکردنەوە لە خزمەتکردن لە دروستکردنی تەبایی لە ڕۆحی یەکتر قبوڵکردن لە هەموو ئەو بوارانەی کە وەدەکا ئەو وڵاتە یەکڕیز بێ بەس لەویش گرنگتر کۆمەلگای مەدەنی واجبێکی لەسەرە بەڵام حکومەت دەبێت تەمکینی بکە ئەو ڕێگەی پێ بدا ئەو تەمویلەی بۆ تەرخانکە کە ئەوانەی ئێستا توندڕەو بوونە لە خۆ بگیرێنەوە ئەوانەی بوونەتە قوربانی توندڕەوان لە خۆ بگیرێنەوە ئەوانەی کە بەشدار بوونە لە پرۆسەی لە داعش و لەوانەی کە تۆبە دەکەن یان لەوانەی کە دەکرێت کە ڕاست بکرێنەوە لە خۆ بگیرێنەوە سەیری کامپی ئەلهۆڵ بکەن بۆتە کارگەی دروستکردنی جیلی داهاتوو لە تەرۆریزم ئەوە بۆ ئێمە ناکرێ دەبێ ئێمە لەو شتانە دوور بین کە دەینە سەر حکومەتی هەرێم هەروەهای بەغدا دەبێت استراتیژێتی نیشتمانی تێر و تەسەل کۆمپریهەنسیڤ لە خۆی بگرێ لە هەموو تەوەرێکەوە لەو بارەدا کاری لەسەر بکە هەنگاو بە هەنگاو نەخشە ڕێگایەک دروست بکە کە تەواوی دامەزراوەکانی حکومەت و کەرتی کۆمەلگای مەدەنیش لەسەری بڕۆن ئەو استراتیژیەمان پێویستە هاوکاری نێودەوڵەتیش مەوجودە ئێستا یونیسف و UNDP و ئەوانە تەمویلیان هەیە وعدەیان داوە کە استراتیژەکەی سەرۆکەکەیان و هی ساڵی 2010 لە خۆ بگرن مەوجودن لێرە لەگەر هاوپەیمانانی دەرەوە وڵاتانی تر هاوکاری عسکەریان کردوین ئەزممویان پێداوین و ئامادەن بۆ کەپاسیتی بڵدینگ بۆ تەدریبمان بۆ ئەوەی کە تەنانەت منهاجمان بۆ لەگەر بگۆڕن حکومەتی ئێمە دەبێت دامەزراوەکانی حکومڕانی وەزارەتەکان تۆکمە بکە ئالەتی خۆبەڕێوەبردن و قیادەکردنیان زیاتر بخاتە خزمەتی بەگەرخستنی خزمەت گوزاریەکان ئابووری وڵات لەگەر دروستکردنی یەکسانکردنی دەرفەت لەوەدا تەنها خاڵی ئەخیری my final point that's it less than 2 minutes maybe 30 seconds دیسان دەیڵێمەوە ئەگەر میلەتێک وڵاتێک کۆمەلگایەک حکومەتێک بێوە سەرفراز بێ وڵاتەکە خۆشگوزەران بی لە ئاشتەوایی بژی و ترسی لە هەڕەشە و کارەساتی تێرۆریزم نەبی و ئەوە دەبی لە سەروی هەموو پرۆژەیەکەوە خەریکی تۆکمەکردنی سیستمی حکومڕانی بێ و خەریکی سەروەرکردنی یاسا بێ خەریکی پرۆسەی نیشتمانسازی و دەوڵەتسازی بێ Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alawa. The way I'd like to do it now is after each talk, I'd like to invite each of the other panelists to offer a comment or a question, if they like, regarding their colleague who just made a presentation. And then once all 4 of the others have done so, I'll invite the colleague briefly to respond to those. Does that work for everyone? Do you understand how?
And then, the question also wait for the
Okay. Okay, do any of you have a pressing clarification point or question for Dr. Alawa from this presentation?
I think let's go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good then.
And we take it from there.
Very good. I sense a close to a consensus emerging on the panel about moving to the next presentation. So I'd like to invite Dr. Zadeg Zibakalam to be our next speaker. Now, his name in Persian, for those of you less familiar with it, translates to honest and eloquent speaker, if I understand correctly. So I think this is a wonderful kind of translation for our speaker. He is an Iranian academic, author, and pundit. Let's just wait one moment. It's okay. It's not a problem.
Should continue.
Carry on?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. He's an Iranian academic, author, and pundit, and he's a graduate of the University of Bradford. He is a professor at the University of Tehran and appears frequently on international news outlets, including the BBC and Al Jazeera. His book, How Did We Become What We Are, and An Introduction to Islamic Revolution are among bestsellers and very prominent books on Iranian contemporary politics. Zibakalam has become a familiar face in Iran as well for his passionate and daring debates with hardliners in Iran, in which he publicly challenges the state line on many sensitive topics. So if you could all please join me in welcoming Dr. Zibakalam.
Yes, I want to...
Let's make sure. I just untangle myself.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'd like to begin my speech by mentioning two members of my family, my mother and my grandson. And somehow it is related to this topic. I like to remember my mother because she always advised me as a strong supporter of the Islamic government. She always advises me that, son, please, wherever you go and whenever you deliver a speech, remember God. And don't say things for the sake of people, but say things that God loves and God likes to hear. Now, because she's my mom, I have never told her that, Mom, could you please make that advice to some Iranian leaders and some Arab leaders and some American leaders and some other leaders of the world. And, but somehow she only makes that advice to me. Now, about my grandson, I always tell him a story. He is 2 years old, and his name is Makan. This story is about a dog and children, and how they become friends. I will tell that story as well, and how it is related to my speech. Now, the final point about my speech is that I was not supposed to be at this panel. The paper which I presented to the Kurdish University was actually about the relationship between nationalism and democracy. and what are the relations between nationalism and democracy, and should the Kurds be struggling for nationalism, self-rule, or should the Kurds be struggling for democracy, which obviously my answer was, why should they be in favor of democracy? But when they told me that, your colleagues, friends, told me that there is a change of program, I said, okay. And fortunately, about 4 years ago, we carried out a research at Tehran University, myself and some of my students at the Faculty of Law and Political Science at Tehran University. We carried out a research about the nationalities of IS members. Remember, 3 years ago, 4 years ago was the peak of Daesh's power. And the study was very interesting. Shukriya. The study was very interesting because we could actually show that there is a, as the statisticians say, there is a positive relationship between Daesh, its emergence, and political development, or rather lack of political development. The study that my students, the statistics that they had gathered, obviously it wasn't very fine and very accurate, but the picture that emerged was reasonable to convince us that there was such a relationship. Most of the Daesh members who had been either killed or captured, or we knew about them, they came from Algeria, they came from Yemen, they came from Iraq, they came from Syria, they came from Yemen, and they came from Chechen, in Afghanistan, of course. The number of Daesh members, volunteers, who came from Iran, from Turkey, from Jordan, Lebanon, and North Africa were very, very few. Now, what that tells us? Doesn't that tell us that there is a correlation between political development, or rather lack of political development, and the forces, the dynamic which creates Daesh? We were very happy, and we invited some of our colleagues at Tehran University to have a seminar amongst ourselves to explore this. Now, right from the beginning, of course, when the results were coming out, I was uncomfortable about the result, because there was one element, one crucial element, one substantial element, which actually disputed our finding, or rather ran in counter to our findings. And those were Daesh volunteers, IS volunteers, who came from the West. They came from Afghanistan. We said there's no political development in Afghanistan. They came from Iraq. We said there's no political development in Iraq. They came from Syria. They said Syria, the Syrian Muslims have been suffered at the hand of a brutal dictatorship for years and years and years. Well, what could we say about members of Daesh who came from Britain, who came from France, who came from New York? What could we say about them? Could we say that unemployment, political repression, lack of political development led to those people to come to Turkey and then to come to Syria. Now, of course, we realize that there are other complications which we must consider. And chief amongst them was the question of crisis of identity. We reached the conclusion amongst our small circle of academics and students at Tehran University that maybe we must think more seriously about crisis of identity or identity crisis. Because we thought that, or we concluded that there must be some sort of correlation between crisis of identity, Muslims, second generation, third generation, they are not identifying themselves with the major culture which exists in their countries. Why does that happen? Why a Muslim whose parents have migrated to France or Holland, she or he has been born in that country, she or he has been educated, going to school, going to college, even university in Holland and in London, why has he or she turned into a Daesh volunteer? What are the forces? What are the social forces? What are the psychological forces which drive those people to come to Syria and take arms and to fight alongside Daesh? Now, if we return back to the main part of our finding, which was lack of political development as the main force which creates Daesh, then what can we do? It was very much interesting because one of my students actually was a Kurdish student, and she said that Daesh has managed to draw support amongst the Kurds as well. There are Kurdish ideas, Kurdish currents, which more or less are growing in Erbil, in Suleymaniye, in Kirkuk, in Dahuk. So this phenomena is not limited to Arabs. Now, of course, we could not continue the project because it related to political development, and some people within the university didn't like the idea, or rather they felt threatened, and we have to stop it. Because don't think that Ronald Reagan is only in the United States. Donald Trump is everywhere. He is in Iran, he's in Iraq, he's in he's in Erbil, he's everywhere. And when he doesn't like something, he blames it on his enemies and conspiracy theories, etc., etc. So we stopped it. But Professor Romano, I believe that any study about Daesh, religious extremism, must somehow take into account political development. And we must not concentrate solely on economic factors. We realize that, of course, economic factors are important. Unemployment, injustices, etc., do force younger generation to go towards Daesh. But by far, the most important factor which we discovered at Tehran University, was lack of political development. Now, Professor Romano, before you present me the the time limitation, I would like to end my talk with the second member of my family, my grandson. How does he come into this play, into this speech? About 8 months ago, I wrote in my Instagram page this story of dog and children, amongst them my grandson who plays with them. And nearly 400,000 Iranians responded to this story. The story is very simple. Children are playing with a ball, Makon amongst them, my grandson, and there comes this black dog and demands the children that I must be played as well. I must play with you as well. My grandson Makon says, no, you can't. We can't play with you. You don't know how to play. And they refuse to play with him. What the dog does, the dog snatched the ball and ran away. And the children, they come to me. And they tell me that, Daddy, the horrible dog has snatched our ball. And can you please get our ball back? And the story actually begins from here. Because I try to teach my grandson and his friends that you have to learn. You have to learn to play with dog. You cannot ignore the dog because he would take away your ball. And eventually, the children learn how to play with dog. And dog becomes friends with the children, and the story has a happy ending. But the point is that many of those Iranians who commented on this story, you won't believe it, the things that they had written. They had said that we are pretty certain that that dog is Donald Trump. And the children, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Kurdish region, and you as a liberal, as a supporter of the West, you are trying to say that rather than defending the ball, which is oil, which is our national integrity, which is whatever people fight for, rather than teaching the children that they must defend themselves against an aggressor, namely the United States, you are teaching them to capitulate and to come along. Put yourself in my shoes. How would you answer them? I would be too happy to read your comment, and I would put it as a reply to my critique that the path to future is not collusion and collaboration with supreme power, with the superpower, but rather to fight against them. Isn't that something that Daesh says? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zuber. I think we've all enjoyed the allegories to make us think more creatively about these issues. I'd like to invite as our third speaker, Dr. Najmuddin Karim. I'm starting to go in order on our itinerary on our list. I'm not sure how much of an introduction Dr. Najmuddin requires. He was a former governor of Kirkuk at the time 2 years ago as well when all these events occurred. And he was also a celebrated neurosurgeon in the Washington, D.C. area, and the founder of the Washington Kurdish Institute, and a very generous donor for Kurdish causes in general. And I don't see how we could say much more than that if you'd like to join us. Of course.
Thank you very much, David. Rostam Bash Bakhair Ben, Amulayek. I'm going to try to stick to the topic because my friends also elaborated on other things that was very useful and very interesting. But I would come and start with, why did ISIS appear? If we know why it appeared, then maybe we can think about ways to prevent it from rising up again. Actually, in reality, ISIS is still here. We still have ISIS. Western part of Kirkuk is ISIS controlled in the evenings. During the days, they disappear. A lot of places in Diyala province the same way. In Salahuddin province, in Nineveh, I think Dr. Dilawar talked about if it wasn't for the coalition support, they probably can occupy Ramadi and Fallujah and other places. So it is really there. How do we prevent it from doing what it did before? I think the reason ISIS emerged, it's the same reason its predecessors appeared. Before ISIS, we had Al-Qaeda, we had the Naqshbandis, who are the Baathists, we had Ansar al-Sunnah, who was Jund al-Islam before. So these elements were all there. But when ISIS declared itself, they all agreed to work under ISIS banner, and that's how it happened. Of course, the reason for this was after 2003, the weak governments in Baghdad, successive governments in Baghdad, sectarianism, ignoring of the constitution, and of course, the most important part in the constitution was Article 140, which I believe is still the basis of, I think one of the speakers, I believe it was Kagdlauer, mentioned the disputed territories we have to deal with, and that issue has to be resolved. And I think that can prevent ISIS, which is most active now in the disputed territories, in Diyala province, in Salahuddin, in Kirkuk, in addition to the other places in the north and the west. Let me start with Article 140, which I believe is really one of the most important topics that has to be addressed, and it has been ignored. This article was preceded by Article 58 in TAL in 2004. The article was voted on within the Constitution in 2005. Its components are three parts: normalization, census, and referendum. We convened a conference in the US Congress at the Rayburn Building in 2007, prior to the deadline for implementing Article 140 on 31st of December of 2007. The conference was sponsored by the Washington Kurdish Institute and the Kurdish National Congress, and we had many speakers with international experts in law and constitution. There are some who still believe that the article has expired because it hasn't been implemented by the time it was supposed to. But in reality, there are many articles in the Iraqi constitution that has not been implemented. Does that mean that the others are also expired? Not, of course. Some of you remember in the United States, in the late 70s and 80s, there was equal right amendment related to women's issues and rights and all that. And that actually passed both the House and the Senate, but it had a time limit on it. It said if it was not ratified by the House and the Senate, then 2/3 of the states, then the time expires. And so in the Constitution, the time limit has to be set for anything to expire if it's not implemented. In 2007, I was in Baghdad. I asked President Talabani if I could visit his vice presidents, because one of them was Sunni, one of them was Shia, about talking about Article 140 and how to implement it. He said, yeah, I think it's a good idea. So the first one I saw was Mr. Tariq al-Hashimi. I said, you know, it's important that this is part of the Constitution, and it actually is very important for the future of Iraq. Iraq has basically failed to become or to reach its full potential since its inception until today because of the lack of acknowledging the rights of the Kurdish people within the country from the first day. Tariq al-Hashimi said, I am for Article 140 as long as it's only implemented in the disputed territories. And of course, we know Article 140, for some reason, it involves more than just the disputed territories. It involves areas in Najaf, in Karbala, areas in Baghdad itself, and all that. So the second one I saw was the current Prime Minister, my friend, Adil Abdul Mahdi. And he said, yeah, I am all for it, but it has to involve all of it. So you could see that, and Adil is very close to the Kurds, and he has been friends with the Kurdish leadership for decades and all that. But you could see that there was no really intention by anyone in Baghdad to follow this. And I'm connecting Article 140 with disputed territories for re-emergence to prevent ISIS from becoming strong again and occupying places. And I totally agree with Dr. Dlauer. If we don't have the coalition, and if we didn't have the coalition helping us, and of course others as well, I don't think ISIS would have lost the ground in many of the places, in all of the places that it did, whether it's in Syria and all that. Of course, ISIS also appeared because the neighboring countries contributed a great deal to the emergence of ISIS. You know, ISIS fighters, volunteers coming from Europe, from Central Asia, from Arab countries, were allowed to enter Syria, to enter Iraq from different places. They didn't think that it will be a problem for them. It will be only a problem for Iraq. Even Bashar al-Assad, when before ISIS appeared, actually a lot of terrorists came from Syria into Iraq, and they were exploding themselves. And I remember the day when there was the explosion before the Foreign Ministry and Ministry of Interior, how Maliki, then Prime Minister, asked the United Nations to interfere and the Security Council to meet on this issue, because Syria was responsible for sending these terrorists. You all remember that. So he got a dose of his own medicine after that when ISIS came and destroyed his own country. So the neighboring countries were not very scrupulous in their attitude towards the new Iraq, which was emerging from a very brutal dictatorship. How do we prevent it? I believe we still have the potential for ISIS, not so much taking over vast areas in Iraq, like taking all over Mosul, all over Salahuddin, the Anbar province, and all of this, and even half of Kirkuk, which was inhabited by the Sunni Arabs. How do we prevent that? Well, today, after ISIS has been evicted from controlling those cities, a lot of them have disappeared into the population. I remember when we were in Kirkuk, we had a lot of IDPs coming. Among these IDPs were sleeper cells, ISIS infiltrating, and they are actually, currently they are in the city. After Mosul was liberated, the Iraqi army and the others who were with them were supposed to go to the western part of Iraq, to Anbar, to liberate those areas. Instead of, they detoured and left those areas alone, and they came to Hawija. And in Hawija, ISIS didn't resist. They shaved, they changed their clothes, and they went to their homes and villages. And those are the ones who are killing members of the Iraqi military. They are attacking villages, they are kidnapping people. In Kirkuk itself, many villages in Dakuk have evacuated and left to the Kurdistan region or to the city of Kirkuk. The Kakei villages completely disappeared in those areas, and these were supposed to be not happening 2 years after the last bastion of ISIS was recontrolled by the government. But their desire to attack Kirkuk and to attack the Kurdistan region really was more important to them than eliminating ISIS and letting and allowing ISIS to come back. This is a reality. This is true. How it happened. And today, most of those places, whether in Nineveh plains, in Hawija, in Diyala province, most of the IDPs have not gone back to their places. They are still displaced, and they are afraid to go back because ISIS is controlling those areas and attacking them and killing them. So what should be done in those areas, particularly in the disputed territories? I think in the disputed territories, in addition to implementing Article 140, which had 3 components, only part of the first component has been implemented, and that's partially, which is the return of the displaced people. But that was also done in a funny way. The ones who were evicted, their properties were taken, their homes were confiscated, they were given compensation of 10 million Iraqi dinars, but the settlers who were helped to come in and build homes and even get paid when they get married in the area were given twice as much, 20 million Iraqi dinars. So these injustices has to be addressed clearly. I believe that disputed territories mean there are more than one side who claims those areas. And Kirkuk and other places are disputed territories because we feel it's Kurdistan and part of Kurdistan. The others feel it should be like the other provinces in Iraq. Well, it's disputed, it's mentioned in the Constitution, so it should be governed by both sides. I believe that to get out of this logjam as far as these territories, we should go back and see how the situation came about until 2017. When ISIS came, Iraqi army disappeared. Iraqi army disappeared. I remember we had only 1 battalion of Peshmerga in Kirkuk. With volunteers, this battalion of Peshmerga prevented ISIS from coming into the city. They occupied the rest of the country to the west. Only the city remained. And then when Iraqi army was not there and some of them joined ISIS. Some of them just disappeared and went home. And by the way, Professor, 98%, maybe 99% of ISIS members, at least in Kirkuk I can speak of, were from the area, not foreigners, not from other countries. They were people who lived in those areas. So let's go back to the same situation that it was before ISIS. We had joint administration. You know, the administration of Kirkuk was connected to Baghdad. It was not like KRG was controlling it, but we had joint administration, a Kurdish governor, a Turkmen head of the governing council. We had the head of North Oil Company, who was an Arab. So it was really a joint administration. It wasn't. The reason Peshmerga was there, the Peshmerga came there to save the city from ISIS, because it would have had the same fate as Mosul and as Tikrit, as Ramadi. And by the way, Ramadi was taken over when Abadi was prime minister. So, because he sometimes boasts about how he defeated ISIS. Actually, most of Anbar was taken over when Abadi was prime minister, not Maliki. Abadi was prime minister. So what we're talking about is, let's go back to how it was before June 10, 2014. Have a civil administration, let the governing council go back, whatever legitimately was done before, for those to return, and remove the army from the city. That's a key. The army needs to fight ISIS in Hawija, in Riyadh, in Abbasi, in Zab, in those places, not within the city. I think the militias, the Shia militias, you know, the Hashd al-Sha'bi needs to leave the city. They don't belong to the city. When Ayatollah Sistani asked for the people to go and fight against Daesh, they told them to go and fight them in the front lines, not to come to the cities and do all kind of unlawful things within the city. These are the things that prevents ISIS from coming back. By just talking about it and hoping that it will disappear, no. And then, of course, we have to get rid of sectarianism. We have to get rid of the corruption that's available. Look how dysfunctional the Iraqi parliament is. They can't pass laws that deals with people's daily lives. Actually, they easily vote to increase their own salaries, to give themselves perks, very easily, but nothing related to the services of the people. Am I okay? Or 2 minutes? Okay. Well, you know, on the bright side, you know, we're happy that there is coordination between Baghdad and Erbil, but still has a long way to go. And there are different ideas about how to resolve the differences, whether it's on oil, on disputed territories, on any of these between the sides. I think we all have a role to play in this. I think I emphasize again, resolving the disputed territories is a key. In 1974, the fighting wouldn't have started if the government has not reneged on its promises to implement the autonomy agreement of 1970. And because of the resumption of fighting, Iraq lost the ability to fight the Peshmerga forces under the leadership of General Barzani. And because of that, it made a deal with the Shah of Iran and gave up a lot in Shatt al-Arab on the borders. And to get that back, he thought the Islamic Republic was weak. He attacked Iran after 8 years of war. He came out basically bankrupt. He attacked Kuwait to get some money from them, and we know what happened to the end. So unless we resolve those issues, I think Iraq will remain unstable, will never reach its potential. But if that constitution, which we voted for, is implemented truly, and that's why we went to the referendum. We voted for that article. That's why we went to the referendum. And if the dispute between the Kurdistan region and Baghdad is not resolved, that will give a big opportunity to ISIS to expand and come back again and be trouble for the whole country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to invite Mr. Fawzi Hariri next to share some thoughts with us. Now, Mr. Hariri was president of the Diwan. He's the chief of staff for President Necharvan Barzani. He was formerly president of the Diwan at the Council of Ministers from 2011 to 2013. He's a former Iraqi Federal Minister of Industry from 2006 to 2011 and Chief of Staff of the Iraqi Foreign Ministry from 2003 to 2006. He's also a graduate in the United Kingdom in engineering and worked within the UK private sector, including British Airways. So if you'll all join me in welcoming Mr. Fawzi Hariri.
Thank you very much. Shall I do it here? Safa Lironia. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. بخير هاتني همومي وأنا برز كان دكين. زور سپاسی زانکوی کردستانیش دکین بو أو هنگاوه كامدو أمين كونفرانسا أو صالة ودسخوشيتان ليدكم هوادارين بردوام بي بتابتي بكوكر نوي قتابياني زانكو كاني سرتا سري هريم چونکە ئەمە بنکەیەکی بەڕاستی معلومات و زانیاری باشە و بۆ پەرەپێدانی خوێندنەکەی خۆیان. If I may, من زۆر وەخت وەرناگرم چونکە پاش ئەو سێ کەسە دەزانم وەختی زۆر خایان. بە ئینگلیزی هەوڵ دەدەم بە کورت و مختصر قسەکانی خۆم عەرزی ئێوەی بەڕێز بکەم. Mr. Chairman, it's a distinguished honor to follow three distinguished speakers. I hope that I will follow them before Dr. Najmuddin speaks. Now that he has also spoken, there is very little left for me to contribute to this distinguished audience. So I will highlight my points to two particular headlines. One, the KRG, Kurdistan Region, and the other will be ISIS and its threats. When I talk about KRG, a Kurdistan region, I talk about limitations. The word region in itself puts a great deal of limitations to what Kurdistan can do in a number of environments. A region means we are part of a bigger country, that is Iraq. As a region, we have a lot of responsibilities towards a central government in Baghdad that has continuously changed the milestones of the relationship between Kurdistan and Baghdad. We have a new Iraq that was established post-2003, where a constitution that clearly identifies the rights and responsibilities of Kurdistan region in relations with the central government, federal government of Iraq. And we continue today fight towards making sure we get that constitution established. Not used as a menu for the central government to select which item within the constitution to implement, but completely implemented from A to Z. And that continues to be part of the dialogue that stems, whether it is what Dr. Najmuddin referred to as 140 article, whether it's the rights of Peshmerga, whether it's the oil and gas, and many other areas. So Kurdistan region, again, it is region in my dictionary is limitation. As a region, we have by far exceeded our own successes over the past 5 to 10 years in comparison to what many other UN-recognized states we have surpassed in development, economic development, in educational development, in infrastructure development, and in many other areas that, again, within that framework of limitation. We need to recognize our strengths and weaknesses. For us to face any challenges, including ISIS, including further developments, we need to recognize where we can improve. In your statement this morning, you highlighted some of the weaknesses that continues to pin down our progress into the future. For example, we need a better cohesion within the political environment of the KRG. We need better reconciliation between the political parties. We need to have a better unification of our message, not only towards central of Iraq, but also regionally and internationally. That is the responsibility of the Kurdistan presidency, Kurdistan government, to bring together into the fold the various political, that they were the pillars through which we've established today's Kurdistan region. That is, economically, yes, we have developed, but we're still a weak economy. We are dependent on oil, and we are dependent on the budget that comes from Baghdad. We need to seriously consider diversification. We need to consider foreign direct investment. We need to have the rules and legislations in place that will encourage capital to come to Iraq. Why should it go to Kurdistan when it can go to UAE or to Turkey or so on? We need to have an attractive package that we offer foreign direct investment to come in and develop and strengthen and diversify our economy and not keep it purely public service. That is another weakness that we have in the KRG, which is our public service is much too fat and it needs to be slimmed down. And we have tried many times and we continue to try that. Various models have been experimented. We have had successes, but we need to continue in that area. Another challenge for us is corruption. It isn't to the level that some people make it out to be, but it does exist because we are dependent on many other elements. There has been a great deal of work achieved by the previous cabinets within the Kurdistan Regional Government into tackling the corruption problem. That work continues into the 9th cabinet of the KRG to deal with that and with other elements. So there are challenges still that faces our limited Kurdistan region. Now, we have strengths also. Our strengths stem from our successes in the past 4 or 5 years. Today, we are very lucky to have 2 young people leading Kurdistan into the next phase. We have a young president who has a seasoned prime minister from previous, and previously as a Peshmerga, who has extensive international relations, extensive regional relations, extensive domestic relations that is highly respected and can be influence, a strong influence into the events, not only inside Iraq, but also in the area. We have a very young prime minister who expressed his views today from that podium, who is extremely efficient and who is extremely hands-on in managing the new 9th cabinet. We are very lucky to have these 2 individuals. Of course, they are both supported by some very good people around them. We have a unified cabinet that consists of all major political parties that are contributing as one voice, representing Kurdistan region to go and develop the government program. We have a president who is in continued relationship and consultations with Baghdad, with the regional power, to stem some of the threats that could face Kurdistan. Our other successes was, as you highlighted in your studies, we faced one of the biggest threats in the region. That was ISIS, almost 4 years ago. We had a border of over 1,000 kilometers, a frontline war front with them, and we prevailed. And that was a huge success. The Peshmerga force of Kurdistan was outstanding in doing their best to prevent the stem and expansion of the ISIS. We were faced with huge economic problem, having had our budget cut. We prevailed. We had a total destruction of oil prices from $100, $120 per barrel to about 25. We prevailed. Yes, our people stood fast. There were problems with salaries. There were problems with pay. There were problems with services. In addition to that, Kurdistan has proven itself a safe haven. We were a safe haven for all of those who were running away from oppression and repression, be it within the war-torn Iraq or be it with the religious and ethnic minorities that left their areas due to the barbarism of ISIS. We took them all in. In a matter of 3 months, the Kurdistan region's population increased by 30 to 35%. Any world state recognized in the world will plan a 10% population increase over 20 years. We took a 35% hit in 3 months. We prevailed. And these are the successes and the strengths of the Kurdistan region. And the system of government, that is by no means perfect, but it is one of its most successful in the region. We need to continue to deal with Baghdad, to deal with our issues that are the oil file, the budgetary file, which are important and urgent, especially with the coming of the new 2020 budget. We need to flow that through. Then we have the Article 140 and the disputed areas that have become safe haven for the terrorists to fill all the gaps that are remaining between the Peshmerga forces and the Iraqi military force. Some of the gaps between the two forces are up to 50 kilometers, and that provide easy access to various terrorist organizations to go through. These issues need to be handled, and our government, again, as the Prime Minister highlighted in his address, we are confident that we have a very good listener in the shape of Prime Minister Adel Abdel Mahdi. We have excellent rapport and relations with him and his government, and we continue to deal with that, and we are quietly confident that we will be able to succeed with that file. My other remark will be about ISIS. And I've thought about how best to describe ISIS, and looking at it from a different angle, because everybody in this room is an expert on the subject. There is nothing for me to add. So I looked at it from a different angle. The second speaker, the distinguished professor, said ISIS from the region, from the Arab and Muslim countries, was understandable. There was poverty, there was prevention, but why were they joined by European ISIS or American ISIS? What was wrong with the Europeans that they came and joined? There was no environment issues, there was no social deprivation, yet they decided to go on. My very modest comparison, I would compare an ISIS. Some people say it's an idea. It's an idea that is imprinted in people's beliefs and brains. My assessment as a non-expert of the subject would be that ISIS is a virus. It inflicts people of any kind, depending on the environment that they live in and at the situations that they are in. The international community has a responsibility to dealing and eliminating this virus. When we have breakouts of Ebola virus in Africa, we don't leave it to the Central African Republic to deal with it. There is a UN emergency. There is an international emergency to go and control the spread of Ebola, because it sees no boundaries, it kills everything that comes in its power, and it is as ruthless as it can be, and it doesn't have a cure. What do we do with Ebola? We try and contain it in an environment, we burn it down, and we hope it dies out. What we have seen after the demise of the ISIS Caliphate, we have ended up with thousands of individuals that are men, women, and children put in camps. And these camps are managed, no one knows by who, and nobody knows who is responsible for their welfare, well-being. Now, if we think we can contain the Ebola virus and it dies out, the fundamental difference between them and the ISIS group is that when you contain ISIS and leave it to be, it grows again. And what we're seeing is that children are growing in camps that in excess of 50 to 100,000, deprived of education, of services, of everything else, and see the looks of some of their jailers and possibly thinking, why the hell am I being treated that way? They were born there. They did not choose to be born as children for those families. So the international community has a fundamental responsibility to go in and deal with these, provide for them, educate them. The fact that they continue to house them in camps, we have one camp that has in excess of 70,000 remainers, mainly women and children. Half of that camp are of Iraqi origin. What is the future for them? If they're left like that, those young children will grow up to be worse than what their fathers or grandfathers were, in terms of their fundamentals, in terms of hate to the establishment that treated them as outcasts. And that is not a problem for Kurdistan, and it's not a problem for the Iraqi government, or Syria, or to that effect Turkey. It's an international community problem. It needs to have international emergency committees with the funding to provide for these people who are in camps and go through a complete transformation program, be it educational, social, political, even religious, to try and include them again into the community and society. Those who are redeemable, not everybody, some are redeemable, not everybody is. At the moment, they have become pawns in the political environment. For example, we have heard many times President Trump suggesting, we should return some of these to their European countries. That is not a favor, it's a threat. We have a dispute between the Republic of Turkey and Europe over the safe zone in northern Syria. Because they don't agree, the president of Turkey sometimes says, well, we can't keep 3 million refugees, we will have to open up the borders towards Europe. That is not an agreement. It is some sort of a hidden threat. There has to be a serious solution for that. The KRG has proven itself as a safe haven for the oppressed, but we cannot be a haven or a safe haven for these families. That is not our responsibility. We will contribute to any effort, international effort, towards resolving this issue, and we will do everything in our power to provide decent life for those who are redeemable. And at that, I conclude my remarks, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Kak Fauzi. I think, Kak Dalawa, did you have a comment you wanted? Okay, once we get to the question. Okay, very good. So we're going to move on then. And so finally we have Dr. Jakub Wersniowski. I don't know if I'm saying your family name correctly, but you'll correct me. Okay, very good. Now, I've got, you're a security and foreign policy analyst in Washington, D.C., and Dr. Jakub, that'll be the easier way for me to do it. Dr. Jakub, he holds a bachelor's degree in history from Harvard and a master's and a PhD in political science from the University of California, Berkeley, where his dissertation concerned state collapse and reconstruction efforts in post-Ba'athist Iraq. Now, he's contributed to U.S. Department of Defense studies on civil aviation, the U.S. Air Force pilot retention, and national security. From 2008 to 2010, he served on the Iraqi Transportation Network, providing research, advisory support, and humanitarian projects oversight, and assisted in the rollout of the Afghanistan Transportation Network. He has extensive experience in academia, lecturing at Deep Springs College, Yale, Johns Hopkins, and the Diplomatic Academy of Vietnam. He currently serves as a visiting scholar at the Reichau Center of East Asian Studies at Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies and head of research in data analytics at the Council of Logistics Research. If the translators kept up with that, Afedin, congratulations. Thank you very much. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jakub.
So I wasn't sure when I came up whether I should speak at the podium or use the seat mic. And I thought to myself, I'm going last, so it'll be very easy. I'll do whatever the majority of the previous speakers do. And of course, it ended up being 2 and 2. I'd like to thank the university for hosting this conference. I'm very grateful to be here. It's an honor to be at such a distinguished event and to be in the company of such a distinguished panel. I'd also like to thank the moderator for his kind introduction and keeping us on track. There's an advantage in going last. You get to hear the insights of the previous speakers. The disadvantage is that all of their insights may leave you with little to add. So I'll try to speak briefly about the problem of ISIS from my perspective, which is a little more academic and coming from someone outside the region. Now, the ISIS type of ideology, with its revolutionary and rejectionist approach to the existing political order and its radical interpretation, creating a new religious caliphate to replace all existing conditions, is not something new. Before ISIS, there was Al-Qaeda, but you can trace the roots even further back to arguably to the 1979 Il-Khan uprising at the mosque in Mecca, in which they proclaimed the coming of the Mahdi and the emergence of a new religious order to replace corrupted modernity. What is new, or the phenomenon that's gone along with the emergence of ISIS that allowed for it to take the form that it has now, is the phenomenon of state failure. When states collapse, ISIS has the opportunity to come in and convert itself from a clandestine extremist movement into a power that controls territory, that governs people, that fights armies, that wins battles. That's been the case in Somalia, in Afghanistan, in Yemen, in Egypt, and of course in Syria and Iraq. Governments break either because of international intervention or as a result of domestic instability, and that creates the opportunity for ISIS to enter and become the threat that we understand it to be. The reason is that effective states can monopolize force and organize power in a way which means that groups like ISIS cannot emerge. Now, good states do that through legitimacy. They do it through establishing the rule of law and through inspiring their population to engage in political action peacefully. But bad states can also be effective. They just do it differently. Instead of legitimacy and engagement with their population, they choose the path of coercion and the repression of their population. Although this can be an absolute brutal nightmare for the people living inside under such a regime, they can be effective in preventing groups like ISIS from operating. Now, in DC, and I know this very well, circulating around the think tanks, there's an idea that the thing to do about bad states, to get a good state, is just to replace the regime. Regime change and the elimination of the bad state will then allow people, individuals, to freely come together, create democracy, establish a new system with individual rights, freedoms, the rule of law. They'll figure it out themselves, in other words. It turns out that that's not really what happens. If the state collapses, you end up with a struggle to replace that power structure and that system of organized control with another one by any group that's capable of mobilizing violence, inspiring men with guns, and convincing people to follow them against all of the other competitors. The big picture outcomes, the things that we would like to see, like openness and democracy, depend on who wins in that struggle. A best case scenario is the place in which we all are. When the Ba'athist regime in Iraq was removed, the Kurdish regional government, or rather the Kurdish national parties, were in position to replace that terrible repressive power structure with a different one. They had already been organized, they had mobilized, they had coercive capacity in the form of the Peshmerga, and so you did not go through a period of anarchy. There was no political vacuum, but instead one power structure, a terrible one, gave way to a much more hopeful type of state-like regional government. Now, the worst case scenario is what happened in the Sunni regions in Iraq and Syria. There, an oppressive, bad state broke down, in the case of Iraq because of American intervention, in the case of Syria because of its own mismanagement. But there was no organized opposition to replace the regime that broke. And instead, you ended up with violent opposition to the central government being organized into fragmented insurgent groups, militias, and other extremist groups, with ISIS emerging as the dominant one through brutality, through its superior form of organized violence, and through terror. If we want to prevent ISIS 2.0, then we need to find a means of dealing with and managing state failure. One thing to consider, and this is perhaps less a lesson for Kurdistan and more a lesson for the international community, is consider carefully what may happen if you want to pursue regime change. If engagement is possible with a state to improve its behavior, then diplomacy might be a superior option. If there's no clear successor to the regime that you're trying to challenge, then think twice, because you do not know what will come afterwards. And if you do intervene, be careful about degrading the apparatus of state control, meaning the infrastructure, both physical and human, that allows for the territory to be governed. In addition to removing Saddam Hussein, the US intervention also abolished the Ba'ath Party and de-Ba'athized the government and dismissed the Iraqi military. So you remove both the leadership of the state and the cadres that allow it to function. But you also don't replace them with anything. The tribes, the Sunni Arab tribes in the West were not empowered. They could have served as an indigenous replacement before political parties could step up, or the Shia congregations. They were also sidelined, which meant that there was no recognized partner to recreate the state after you had completely removed it. Now, if we've gone past the point of having a choice in the matter and state failure is already occurring, then we need to come up with strategies to manage it. We've seen Kurdistan reacting to the problem of ISIS in real time. And one means of managing state failure is for other neighboring governments, neighboring states, neighboring groups with a coercive capacity to step into the vacuum and prevent ISIS or groups like it from exploiting that opening in order to claim territory. Much of the territory that they took in Iraq, they took without a fight. They moved through Mosul, they moved through most of Al-Anbar without being challenged, the Iraqi military melting away. When resistance did occur, especially in western Iraq, it did not take the form of resistance from Iraqi military units, but from tribal militia or other types of groups that didn't depend on the central state, but were indigenous. So when the Peshmerga entered Kirkuk to secure it from the further expansion of ISIS, that's a means of managing state failure to prevent the worst possible outcome. It's far from being an aggressive move, it was a responsible move in maintaining Iraqi territorial integrity and preventing the expansion of a threat to central power. Also, under conditions of state failure, select local partners that have an actual effective presence on the ground. The West frequently makes the mistake of selecting telegenic, fluent English speakers that promise democracy, promise human rights, but don't have any organic connection inside the society that they claim to be able to lead. Other groups, in some cases traditional groups like tribal leaders, in the case of Syria, the YPG in the Kurdish region, in the case of Somalia, the Republic of Somaliland, they might be completely unanticipated, completely unexpected. They might not take a form that's telegenic or conventionally acceptable, but nonetheless, they are local, effective structures that can prevent groups like ISIS from expanding their power. Now, in addition to these recommendations, which are perhaps more for the international community than for the the regional government of Kurdistan, there are a few things that have already been mentioned on this panel that I think represent urgent priorities. Mr. Hariri pointed out that, or Dr. Karim, it was pointed out that in Kirkuk, 90% of the ISIS fighters came from the local region. And that many of them melted away, they shaved their beards, they vanished, rather than surrendering or choosing to fight to the end. That is an issue that needs to be dealt with. And I don't mean that in the sort of mafia style needs to be dealt with way. It's something that needs to be addressed without violence or with the minimum required. Some mechanism for forgiveness and reconciliation needs to be established to allow these people to reintegrate into Iraqi society. There are too many of them to treat as a completely marginalized group or to try to eliminate. There must be some way for them to be able to signal their desire to surrender, to give up this ideology, to put it behind them, and some way for them to be received so that their promise can become credible and translate into forgiveness and reconciliation. Many of these fighters have done things that they know are unforgivable, and that may be the main obstacle preventing them from rejoining Iraqi society, from giving up extremism. They may feel that it was a one-way ticket. If a mechanism like the Truth and Reconciliation Council in South Africa existed where they could confess and they could move beyond their crimes, that would be advantageous in terms of preventing reemergence of ISIS. An additional important step would be to find an alternate, inspiring idea for the disaffected and troubled young men of the region. I was a troubled young man at one point, and the question was asked, why do Western Muslims join ISIS? Well, if you're a young man between 18 and 25, and you're a misfit, you don't understand how to fit in with the culture that you're in, maybe you're just socially awkward. It doesn't even need to be a cultural mismatch. But it's very easy to feel a yearning for a cause, a purpose, something transcendent that goes beyond finding a slightly better job, buying a slightly better car. For a certain type of young person, especially in the West, extremism can give that sense of mission that's been absent in the mainstream culture. An alternate inspiring idea, one that's constructive, one that involves building the nation rather than destroying it, would help provide an alternate outlet for these troubled young men, whether they be Iraqi or international. Kurdistan also needs to continue to provide a positive demonstration effect for the region. Mr. Hariri pointed out that for the region, Kurdistan is a success story, and it certainly is. It needs to continue to progress towards better governance, more effective democracy, so that other areas in the region can see that this pays dividends, that there is a path forward which doesn't involve stagnation into failed and corrupt quasi-authoritarian states of the past, or a radical break in favor of a millenarian ideology. And Kurdistan also has the opportunity to show an example of a region, a government that's willing to work with everyone, as long as they reject extremism and are willing to pursue a constructive project for regional stability. So, I'd like to end with one other thing that Mr. Hariri brought up, which is the issue of the refugee camps. The refugee camps are an extremely delicate and pressing problem because these are people who are desperate. They've had very devastating experiences in their recent history. Many suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. They've been traumatized. By definition, they have no place else to go. That's why they're refugees. And it's very easy to put them in camps and turn your back on them. But this can be very dangerous because someone will reach out to them. Someone will provide the services that allow life to continue in some decent way. And if that someone has a malign intent, then an entire community can be turned in the direction of extremist ideology. The obverse is also true. If someone with a positive agenda and a positive message approaches refugees at their most desperate moment and offers a way forward for them and their children, then the sense of gratitude can be absolutely transformative. This means a lot to me personally because I am a refugee. I was born in the People's Republic of Poland in 1980. That was a period of extreme political repression and economic crisis. My family, my parents, they took me and my sister and they left illegally and asked for asylum in Austria. My first memories are from the detention center, where we were processed and we awaited the resolution of our claim. The Austrians accepted us. In fact, it only took them 24 hours. And then they moved us from there to a hostel where we had a little European apartment, and we got the equivalent of 20 or 30 euros a day spending money, and we could stay as long as we needed to, but they wanted to resettle us in a third country. In addition to the Austrian government, this was supported by the international community. There was UN staff and UN funding. We ended up accepted to Canada, and the sense of gratitude that I have for the Austrians and for the Canadians has completely shaped my perspective on the world and given me a deep-held appreciation for those two countries and the values that they stand for. With the refugees in the Middle East from the ISIS conflict, their numbers are very great, and the need for international participation is urgent. But the opportunity is there to transform their lives, not just from a humanitarian perspective, but also provide a constructive vision and a humanistic set of values that they will take forward in their lives. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank all of our speakers, and we're not done yet. We've got at least 10, 15 minutes to have some discussion and invite participation from the audience. I'd like to take about 3 questions at a time and then allow each of the... Pardon? Okay, in 1 second. The way we'll do it is we'll take 3 questions at a time and then allow the panelists to respond to them, and then I'll solicit another 3 questions. Just before we start, though, I want to give Kakdalawa a chance to respond to one of the points that we made. Do you want mine? Or?
I wasn't in a rush. I was quite happy to speak afterwards, but the comment that I have is actually in response to something that our colleagues, Professor from Iran and the other panelists, I want to make a point about the dynamics, the destructive dynamics, the internal, the national, and the regional. And I want to be provocative and controversial. The very factors that led to the emergence of ISIS in 2014 are still there, and in many ways are a little bit worse, and it's going worse. So what have we done? Okay, you name it, we've got it, but it's worse. Worse in the sense that we used to have Kurd, Arab, Sunni, Shia sectarianism or ethnic or whatever. Now we have fragmentation within each component down the line and all militarized. Corruption and lack of state building. So that is still there and it's not addressed, therefore it's still ripe for ISIS to come back. Nationally, the reason why I said Iraq has gone beyond the point of return, because Iraqi government lost its sovereignty. It's been overwhelmed by regional powers and global powers. When a state loses its sovereignty, it means it will lose its ability to make its own decisions. Iraq's decision-making process has been overwhelmed bottom up and top-down. That's let alone the institutions' stability and resilience to look after itself. Kurdistan is not like that yet. Kurdistan has not lost its ability to make its own decision. It has not been overwhelmed by neighbors, bottom-up, top-down. But the way the regional dynamics going, and the way that we Iraqis and in Kurdistan allowing fragility to continue, it's a matter of time. In the regional dynamics, there are no saints or angels, shaitan or malaika. There is no such thing. We're all in the same thing. United States and Iran helped us survive ISIS and defeat ISIS. We have to remember that. But in the same way that the United States failed in its policies to protect the integrity of Iraq or Kurdistan, in the way that the United States failed to adopt the right policies for Iraq, it always pursued a policy, recently at least. It withdrew completely in 2011, only to come back after ISIS. Then the policy was ISIS-focused. Now the policy is Iran-focused. So United States policies failed us. But in the same way, Iran's policies failed us. Iran looks at us from a pure security point of view, much, much less on economic and political. So the rivalry between these two and the rest did very little for our own stability, our own resilience, our own state-building process. Iran is busy with a big global agenda, its competition, rivalry with America, with Israel, and competition with Turkey and the rest. Yes, they are our neighbors and they are good for us and they have been there for the time of crisis, but equally, look at the trend. Look at the way Iraq has been going. I think Iranian policy, you have to admit, has also not been successful in helping us in the state-building process and all of that. Turkey went from a century of having policies entirely securitized, entirely security-focused. Then we had a honeymoon of 10 years of Turkey changing its policy to make it economy and politics-led. We had a wonderful time. We really prospered. The two nations transformed our feelings. And then when Turkey changed its policies to be security-focused again, look what happened to our own neighborhood, our own borders, and our fragmentation. And in the same way, I can talk about all the other regional powers that have done very little in stabilizing. Now, we should be looking forward to a new order, new stability, new environment, not only to prevent ISIS, but to prosper and to have a much better future. For that, we need a new order, but that needs new leadership. When America is not providing that leadership, we are left in the hand of 4 rivals in the region who are not busy stabilizing or establishing good governance. They are busy at the moment still dealing with this current turmoil and managing it and postponing a new order. Then therefore, this trend of migration, terrorism, and bad business and all of these fragility in the country will continue. So internally, nationally, and regionally, the dynamics and the factors that led to ISIS are still there. We all need to take responsibility. Primary responsibility internally is ours. It's our government's responsibility to lead. It's Baghdad's responsibility to lead within Iraq. But regionally, we need to also have that debate with the giants who are actually now driving the evolution in the region. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, if each person asking a question could keep it so that we get the maximum number of questions possible within a reasonable amount of time, and more questions than commentaries, and we'll take 3 at a time if we could begin. I'll leave it.
Thank you very much.
If you could introduce yourself and direct your question.
This is Heman Akri, a PhD researcher at the UKH. Actually, I have one remark. You all touched upon very important points, but yet another significant point remained, which is the political system in Iraq. We should have covered this, I think, because what is the political system now in Iraq and in the post-Saddam? Is it a federal, or was it a federal? And what about now? Iraq has, based on my research, which lasted 32 months, I think Iraq is not a federal state. And what's the source of emerging ISIS in Iraq, in western part of Iraq? Okay? And had Sunnis had their own federal region, I think we didn't have ISIS, at least at that area. So the federalism in Iraq is absent. Let's put Kurdistan region aside. I'm not talking about Kurdistan region. But Iraq didn't turn into a federal state. I'm talking about all Iraq. So had those areas, even now we witness demonstrations in southern part of Iraq. And people in Basra, they are still suffering from lack of drinking water, while our NGOs from Kurdistan, Barzani Foundation, maybe Rwanda, they send shipments of bottled water to southern part of Iraq, while they are, you know, they are very rich in terms of natural resources. So actually it's a question and a remark. Is it a federal, is Iraq a federal country, is a federal state? Had we had a functioning federal system, it wouldn't be much better than now and prevent even the emergence of ISIS even in the future. Thank you very much.
ناوم دکتۆرە ڤیان سلێمانە دەستخۆشی لە ئێوە دەکەم بۆ سازدانی ئەم کۆنفرانسەیە. بە حەقیقەت دەمەوێت هێوین چەند خاڵێکم کرد لەسەر قسەی هەموو ئەو بەڕێزانەی کە لێرە قسەیان کرد. ڕێی منەوە دوو سێ خاڵ هەیە سەرەڕای ئەوەی کە زۆرتر تەرکیز لەسەر هێزب و تەرکیز لەسەر دروستکردنی کۆمەڵێک بنەما بوو، بەڵام چەند لایەنێکی زۆر گرنگ فەرامۆش کران کە تێدا باز بکرێت لەسەر دروستکردنەوەی ئەو ئەستراتیژیە. یەکەم لایەنی مێژوو فەرامۆش کرا، بە تایبەتی لە باسکردن لەسەر کوردستان و ئەو بنەمایە جوانانەی کە ئێستاش خاڵە سەرەکیەکانی بەهێزی کوردستانن کە دەتوانرێ لە ڕۆژهەڵاتی ناوەڕاستدا وەکو نمونەیەکی زۆر جوانی پێکەوە ژیان ئاسایش و ئارامی تێدا دروست بکرێتەوە، کە ئەمەش بنەماکانی بۆ حەقیقەت بۆ ئەو لایەنەی دووەم دەگەڕێتەوە کە ئێستا باسی لێ دەکەم، ئەویش لایەنی ڕوحی معنەوی و پەروەردەیی ئەم کۆمەڵگایەیە کە بە حەقیقەت ئەگەر بە سەردەمی نوێ بگەڕێینەوە لە سەردەمی بیستەمەوە بە تایبەتی لە سەردەستی شێخ عەبدولسەلامی بارزانی و شێخ ئەحمەدی بارزانی و دواتر باوکی ڕوحی نەتەوەیی کورد بارزانی نەمرد لە شۆڕەشی ئەیلوولەوە دەست پێ کرد کە لەسەر ئەساسی پێکەوە ژیان و بڵاوکردنەوەی بنەمای خۆشەویستی بوو کە خۆشەویستی نەک تەنها بۆ تاکەکان بەڵکو بۆ هەموو سروشت و هەموو زیندەوەرێک کە لێرەدا دەژیت. بۆیە ئێمە فێری ئەوە کراین تەنانەت لە ئاژەڵەکانیشدا ئەو واتە کۆمەڵایەتیە نەشرینانەی کە هەندێک جار لە دەرونی تاکەکاندا هەیە، بۆ نمونەوە کوسەک هەندێک جار بەجنێ و تەماشایی دەکات، یان هەندێک جار بە ئاژەڵێک کە دەبێ خۆتی لێ دوور بگریتەوە، فێری ئەوە کراین کە کۆمەڵێک لایەنی جوانی ئەو ببینین کە پاسەوانی کردنە، کە وەفایە و هەروەها لایەنە خراپەکانیشی ئەگەر هەبێت لە ڕێگەی تەکنۆلۆژیا، لە ڕێگەی پێشکەوتنی کۆمەڵگای مرۆڤایەتی، لە ڕێگەی تەندروستیەوە چارەسەر بکرێ. ئەوەی کە زۆر زۆر گرنگە لێرەدا پەیامە حکمی دروست یان دەسەڵات دەبێت پەیامێکی جوان ئاراستەی مرۆڤەکان کات. ئەگەر مرۆڤ لە ڕووی جستەییەوە چەند تەمام بێت، بەڵام عەقڵێکی دروستیشی هەبێت، بەڵام ئەگەر ڕوحی تێدا نەبێت، ڕوحێکی مردووی هەبێت، ئیرادەیەکی تێدا نەبێت، ئامانجێکی دیاری کراوی نەکرێت، پەروەردە نەبێتەوە، ئەو ڕوحە مردووە، ئەو جستەیە هیچ شتێک ناتوانێت بکرێت. ئەم کۆمەڵگایانەی کار لە ڕۆژهەڵاتی ناوەڕاست زۆرتریان کۆبوونەوەتەوە بەڕێستان هەمووتان باسییان لێکرد لەسەر ئەوەیە کە ڕوحی ئەم کەسانەی کە لێرەدا دەژین مردوون بە کۆمەڵێک پەیامی هەڵە هاتوون پەیامی مرۆڤ دۆستانە نەهاتووە بۆیان و حەقیقەتیش نەتەوە یەکگرتووەکانیش ئەمریکاش لە تەعاملکردن لەگەڵ عێراقا لەو ڕوانگەیەوە خەلەلی زۆری تێدا بوو تەنها بۆیە تەنها هێزەکە نەبوو کە هێز دەرچوو کە ئیتر تەواو عێراق فەوتا و ئایسس هات و نازانم ئیتر ئەم هەموو مەئساتانەی وڵاتەکانی عێراق دەستی پێکرد بەڵکو پەیامێکی جوان ئاراستە نەکرابوو هەروەکو لە خاڵی سێمیش بەڕاستی لەسەر ئاستی ناوخۆی خۆشمان ئەگەر کوردستان کە ئێمە دەبێت ڕەکیزەکانی زۆر بەقووەتر بکەین پێویستیمان بە دروستکردنی کاک دکتۆر دلاوەر لە قسەکانی و هەروەها کاک دکتۆر فەوزی بەس ئاماژەی کۆمەڵێک شتی جوانیان کرد بەڵام لە عینی کاتدا دروستکردنی بەهاکان زۆر گرنگە پەرەپێدانی هەندێک بەهاکانیش زۆر گرنگە من کە ئەم ئارمە جوانەی زانکۆی کوردستان دەبینم ڕۆژێکی جوانی لە پشتەوەیە قەڵای هەولێرە ناوی کوردستانیشی پێوەیە بەڵام بە حەقیقەت من خۆم لە جیاتی لایەنی مناڵێکی 10 ساڵەی کوردستان دەبینم زمانی کوردی تێدا نابینم کە زمانی کوردی تێدا نابینم لە ڕووی سایکۆلۆجیەوە پەیامێکی زۆر خراپ پەیامێکی باشیشی لێ دەبینم بەڵام پەیامێکی نێگەتیڤیشی لێ دەبینم کە کوردستان دەبێ هەر لایەنێکی دیکە زمانێکی دیکە بەسەردا بسەپێنراو بێت دیسان هەر ئەم بۆیە پێشنیارم وایە هیوادارم ئەم ڕەخنەیە بە دڵگران نەبن لێی بەڵام بە سنگێکی فراوان لێم وەربگرنەوە تکا دەکەم ڕاستە زمانی خوێندن لە زانکۆی کوردستان زمانی ئینگلیزیە وە کێشە نییە بەڵام شتەکانی دیکە هیچ زمانی میری لە کوردستان زمانی کوردیە بۆیە دەبوایە ئێرە زمانی کوردی وجودی تێدا هەبایە هەروەها داوایەکەشم لە پێشەنگەکانی کوردستان هەیە ئەم سێ بەڕێزەی کە لێرەن ئێمە بە چاوێکی گەورە تەماشای بەڕێستان دەکەین ئێوە سیاسیەکانی گەورەی ئێمەن کە لە ناو کوردستاندا قسە دەکەن بە زمانی خۆتان قسە بکەن کە لە دەرەوەی کوردستانن بە زمانی ئینگلیزی قسە بکەن زمانێکی جیهانیە زۆر دروستە بەڵام بۆ ئەوەی کە لە ڕووی سایکۆلۆجیەوە کاریگەریەکی باشی لەسەر ئێمە و لەسەر نەوەکانی ئێمەدا هەبێ مناڵەکانی ئێمە لە تەلەڤیزۆن دەتان بینن و بەو شێوازەیە ئەوە کاریگەری دەبن لایەنی سایکۆلۆجی زۆر گرنگە دەبێ کار لەسەر لایەنی سایکۆلۆجیەکان بکرێت ئەگەر ئەم نمونەیە دەڵێم هەر بەس بۆ تەکیدی قسەکانم پێش چەند ڕۆژێک لە یەکێک لە لافیتەکان کە بۆ مردووێک نووسرابوو تەعزیەکەی لە زانکۆی ئەلئیخوانە لەم هەولێرەی خۆمان کە چاوم پێکەوت لە جێگەی خۆم سڕ بووم باشە بیرم لەوە کردەوە ئەگەر مزگەوتێک بە ناوی ئەلئیخوان لە هەولێر هەبێت ئایا ئەمە شەرعیەت نادات بە حەرەکەی ئەلئیخوان کە لە ناو هەولێردا دروست بێت زۆر سپاستان دەکەم
Let's get one more question so that our panelists have a chance to answer them.
زۆر سپاس بۆ زانکۆی کوردستان من پێم وایە لە ڕوانگەی بەڵێ ئیشەکەوە نیە بەڵێ لە ڕوانگەی ئەو پەروارە کە پێم وایە زانکۆی کوردستان کارێکی باشی کردووە یعنی هەموو خۆی بەڕێزان لە قسەکانیان ئێمە ئەگەڕێن بە دوای ڕێگە چارەیەک بۆ ستێبڵەتی بۆ سەقامگیری پێم وایە هەندێک جار بەروار خزمەت بە مەسەلەکە دەکات یعنی هەڵبژاردننی ڕۆژی 2 ئۆکتۆبر و 3 ئۆکتۆبر دوو ڕێگە چارەمان پێڵێ ئەمڕۆ کە 2 ئۆکتۆبرە ڕۆژی جیهانی نەن ڤایلانسە ڕۆژی جیهانی ناتوند و تیژیە هەر ئەمڕۆ کە 2 ئۆکتۆبرە لە 1869 مەهاتما غاندی لەدایک بووە بە بۆنەی تێپەڕبوونی ئەمڕۆ 150 ساڵ بەسەر لەدایکبوونی غاندیە ئەمڕۆ لەبەر ئەوە نەتەوە یەکگرتوەکان 2 ئۆکتۆبری هەموو ساڵێکی کرد بە ڕۆژی جیهانی ناتوند و تیژی کەواتە ئەمە لەم بەروارە ئەمڕۆ بەڕاستی من ئەوە تێدەگەم مەسئلەیەکی هزری زۆر گرنگ هەیە پێویستی بەوە هەیە کە ستێبڵەتی و سەقامگیری لە هزرەوە دەست پێکە کۆفی ئەنان لە یادداشتەکانی دەڵێ بۆچی سەقامگیری لە جیهاندا نەبوو
بۆچی نەمانتوانی ئاشتی بەرقەرارکەین دەڵێ لەبەر ئەوەی حەزی ناوبژیوان بۆ بەرقەرارکردنی ئاشتی لە حەزی بەشەڕهاتوەکان زیاترە. ناوبژیوانەکان حەزیان لە ئاشتیە، بەشەڕهاتوەکان حەزیان لێ نییە. کەواتە ئەم عێراقە ئەم پێکاتانەی کە لە عێراقا هەیە و ئەم هزرەی ئەمڕۆ لە عێراقدا هەیە ئەوەی هەمیشە جەنابی سەرۆک دەڵێ ئەزمەی چۆن ئەڵێ حکوومەتمان نییە لەم عێراقا، ئەزمەی حکم هەیە، قەیرانی هزری هەیە، چۆن بیر دەکاتەوە ئەم حکوومەتە لە عێراقدا. ئەوە خاڵی یەکە. دوو، سبەی 3 ئۆکتۆبەرە، ئەویش چییە سبەی؟ بۆچی عێراقیەکان سبەی نازانن ڕۆژی نیشتیمانی، سبەی ڕۆژی ئیستیقلالی عێراقە. 3 ئۆکتۆبەری 1932 عێراق ئیستیقلالی وەرگرتووە، کەچی هیچ عێراقیەک شانازی پێوە ناکە و هیچ کەسێک وەکو ئەمریکیەک 4 جوڵای چۆن ئیستیقلال ڕۆژی ئەوان گرنگە. 3 ئۆکتۆبەری 1932 عێراق ئیستیقلالی وەرگرتووە، عێراقیەکانیش نازانن. ئەمە چیمان پێ دەڵێ؟ ئەمە تۆبی دۆج بەریتانی مستەشار لە سەفارەی ئەمریکا کاری دەکرد، لە 2007 کتێبێکی تەئلیف کرد. کتێبەکەی تۆبی دۆج دەڵێ Inventing Iraq. ئەڵێ ئێمە عێراقمان ئیختیراع کرد. And a history denied. ئێمە عێراقمان ئیختیراع کرد، پارچەکانیمان لە ڕووی جوگرافی بەیەکەوە بەست بایندەر، فکرێکمان نەبوو ئەم سێ پێکاتەیە چۆن بەیەکەوە بەستی. کەواتە 2 ئۆکتۆبەر ئەمڕۆ پێمان دەڵێ ئەزمەی هزر هەیە لەم عێراقەدا، 3 ئۆکتۆبەریش پێمان دەڵێ قەیرانێکی سیاسی هەیە. زۆر سپاس.
Okay, let's get a quick response from each panelist. Okay. Keep it as quick as possible so we can take one more round of questions after this. Does that work? I'm going to go in reverse order this time. I'm going to ask Dr. Yaqub to answer first, whichever question you feel like addressing. It doesn't have to be all of them.
I think that one common theme that every question brought up was the issue of values, of identity, of the last speaker talked about the symbolic importance of the dates, nonviolence, coexistence, and peace. Maybe that's more than one theme, but that's something that the questions all shared. And I think that there's a lot to agree with. If you want social peace in a multicultural, multi-ethnic state with the amount of diversity that Iraq possesses, it takes a lot of coexistence. It takes a lot of putting up with difference. And this is not easy in most societies. Difference coexists with difference uneasily, and generating a multicultural society is a major project that requires symbolic adjustment from the top all the way down. And I think that Canada is an excellent example because arguably it's one of the most successful multicultural countries in the world, but that's a direct result of investing a tremendous amount of effort, patience, and forbearance on all of the cultural signals of unity, including accepting an independence referendum from the province of Quebec and respecting the result. Allowing it to use public resources in organizing the referendum. Also, all of the efforts towards inclusion of immigrants, of visible minorities, of sexual minorities, and most recently, reconciliation with indigenous peoples. It's a full-time job. It seems sometimes that all that Justin Trudeau does is tweet different national holiday greetings because he has to acknowledge every single group in Canada. Now, that's what it takes. And that level of effort is extremely difficult in a resource-poor or financially poor, security-threatened country. So it's important to go beyond the recognition of values and inclusion are something we need to how do we feasibly incorporate this into the way that the state functions.
Thank you. If I could invite Dr. Najmuddin to offer us a...
Yeah, I just, well, most of them were statements, by the way, and they were good statements, but I just like make a comment about the federalism that our friend over there mentioned. He's correct, actually. There is no belief in federalism, and the best example of that is when Basra expressed desire to become a region by itself, like Kurdistan region, or Salahuddin province did the same thing. In Nainawa province, they expressed desire to do it. Both governments of Prime Minister Maliki and after him Abadi were totally against it. I remember in 2016, because of Article 140 not being implemented and taking this and all this, I thought that maybe for a period until that article is implemented, we should make Kirkuk a region. And I saw Abadi, and Abadi was surprised. How did I say that? I said, do you like it? He said, yeah, I think, it took courage to do this because all the Kurdish political parties were really against it. I said, then why do you support me? He said, no, I cannot support you because if I do, then I have to support Basra to become a region. I have to support the other places to become a region. They don't believe in the Constitution. For example, the Constitution is very clear on article about oil production, the existing fields and the newly found fields, and yet they think the Kurds have no right to actually explore energy in their region, let alone, exporting it and selling it. So, the Constitution is basically ignored by the successive governments, and that doesn't apply only to the Kurds. Even, southern Iraq, Basra is a Shia majority population, and then when they want to do something, it's centralism, it's centralism, it's centralism. There's no federalism at all.
Thank you, Kak Najmuddin. Kak Fawzi, would you like to?
Thank you. زور سپاس براستی من تنانت وڵامێکی ئەو خاتووە بەڕێزە دەدەم لە دوو بوار چونکە باسی هەرێم ئایا عێراق فیدراڵیان ئەوە درا ئێمە با زۆر لە تشتی بچووک یعنی بەدوای تشتی بچووک نەکەوین هەوڵ بدەین تشتی گەورەتر ببینین جەنابەت تێبینیت هەبوو لەسەر مێژووی ئێمە مێژوویکی زۆر دەوڵەمەندە هەمووی دەزانن سەدان کتێب لەسەر مێژووی و خەباتی گەلی کورد نووسراوە سەرکردەکان دەستپەنجەکان دیارە دەستکەوتەکان دیارە یعنی ئێمە ناتوانین لە هەموو بوارێک کە بین دابنیشین لە پەناڵێک باسی بکەین لە سفرەوە ئێمە خەڵکەکە ئەو بێگانە ڕەنگە مێژووی ئێمە لە خۆمان زیاتر دەزانن ئێمە هەوڵ دەدەین لە دەم و دەست ئیشەکانی خۆمان لە چوارچێوەی ئەو بەرنامەی کە داڕێژراو بۆ ئەوڕۆ بیکەین ئەگەر تێبینیان هەبی خۆیان بەمە دەڵێن اینجا مەلاحەزەکەت جێی خۆیتی بەڵام گوتم یعنی باوەڕ ناکەم نەفرێک هەیە لێرە مێژووی کورد و خەباتی کورد و گەلی کورد و پێشمەرگە نەزانی بۆیە ئەوە تێبینەکەی جەنابەت ئی زمانیشە بەڵام ئەمە ڕەئیەکە یعنی ئەمە ڕەئی جەنابتە ئەمە زانکۆی کوردستان زانکۆیەکی بە زمانی ئینگلیزی دەرس دەداتەوە ئێمە فەخر بە زمانی کوردی دەکەین وەکو فەخر بە هەموو زمانێک دەکەین بەڵام ئەمە بڕیارێکی سەرکردایەتی و ئێرە بووە لەو بابەتە ئەمما قسەکردن بە زمانی کوردی لە پەنەڵەکانی ناو کوردستان ئەزانی من زۆر پەنەڵ حازر دەبم لە دەرەوەی وڵات لە ئەوروپا جیا سەدی نەوەتی پەنەڵەکانی بە هەموو وڵاتانی ئەوروپا زمانی ئینگلیزی بەڕێوە دەچی نەک بە زمانی ئەو وڵاتەی کە ئێمە میێوانی لە ناویان شتێکی زۆر احتیادیە چونکە زمانی ئینگلیز زمانی تێگەیشتنی هەموو لایەنێک کە زمانێکی عالەمیە من بەش بە حالی خۆم عادەتەن کە هیچ پرزنتیشنێک دەکەم لە کوردستان بم لە بەغدا بم لە هەر وڵاتێک بم ئەگەر میوانی بێگانەی تێدابی بەس بەو زمانە قسە دەکەم کە میوانان ڕاستە و خۆل لە من تێبگەن نەک بە ڕێگای متەرجمەوە. من زۆر جار تەماشای کۆنفرانسەکان دەکەم ئەو لە تەلڤیزیۆن بەڕاستی تەرجەمەکە حەقی ئەو قسە ناداتن کە ئینسان خۆی بیکاتن. بۆیە لەگەڵ ڕێزم بۆ ڕێیەکەی جەنابەت من بەش بە حالی خۆم دایمەن بە ئینگلیزی قسە دەکەم لە پەناڵێک کە زۆربەی میوانە بەڕێزەکانیان بێگانن هاتون لەمە تێبگەن یان زۆربەی ئەوانەی کە لێرەنا ئینگلیزی تێدەگەن و ئەوانەیە. ئەمە تەنانەت گوتم تاکو و تێبینیەکانت نەڕوە یعنی ئێمە وەرمان گرت و سوپاس دەکەم.
دوو خاڵ حەزەکەم جەخت بکەم. یەکەمیان مەسەلەی فدرالیەت حەزەکەم لە بۆ عێراق لە بیریکەی. عێراق سیستمێکی هەیە بە ئینگلیزی پێڵێن asymmetrical federalism بە معنای هەر بەشێکی بێت بە تەنە دەبتێشەر نییەوە هەموو لایەک بێت. بەڵام بەختمان هەبوو کە ئێمە خۆمان کیانێک بووین کە چوین فەرزمان کرد ئیتر پاراستمان ئەو کیانە لەوی بەولاوە مەرجعیەت ڕێگە نادا بڕیاری داوە ڕێگە نادە شیعە دروستی بکە. جا ئاشکراکراوە نەکراوە خەمێک نییە لە لای هەموو قیادیەکانی شیعە ئێستا تەسلیم بوونە کەەوە مەرجعیت ڕێدادا کەواتەوە سێ ڕبعی بڵێن نیوەی عێراق زیاتریەوە بەولاوە ڕێگەش نادەن سونە فدرالیەتێکی تائیفی دروستکە بە ناوی سونە ئەوەی کوردی بەسە بەلایەنەوە وە سونەش هیچی مشتەرەکیان نەماوە مووسڵ و ئەنبار هیچی مشتەرەکیان نیە. بڕۆ سەیری قیادەی سیاسیان بکە سەیری مجموعاتی مسلحیان بکە سەیری سیستمیان بکە حتی شتی مشتەرەکیان نییە. ئێستا مووسڵ لەگەر ئێمە نینەوە لەگەر ئێمە زیاتر شتی مشتەرەکیە وەک لەگەر ئەنبار. بەڵام با خەمی عێراقمان نەبی با خەمی خۆمان بی سەیری سیستمی حکمڕانی خۆمان بکە مرکزیانەیەکی سەر و پرتری خنچێنەرتر لە عێراق. ئێمە دەبێ بە ئێرە لا مرکزیتی لە دروستکەین. بەدبەختە چی مامۆستایەک بێەوە نەقل بێ لە مەکتەبێک بە مەکتەبێک لە حاجی عومران دەی بێتە هەولێر موافقە بەگری لە ئاستی پارێزگاکاندا ئیشەکەی ناڕۆ لە ئاستی مەفروزە قایم هەموو شەکەی بۆ تەواو بکە لە ئاستی قەزایەکەی دەبێ ئیشی بۆ تەواو بکرێت. ئێمە سیستمی عێراق قانونی ڕقم 21 هەیە لە ساڵی 2007ەوە هەتا دێوە 3000 گۆڕانکاری بەسەرداتوە لا مرکزیەت دروستکە. تەواویان نەکردووە زۆرش دەخایێنێ بەڵام دەیانەوێت بنکۆڵی پرۆسەی فدرالیزم بەوە بکەن کە لا مرکزیەت ینی بەو قانونە هین بکەن. بەس ئێمە لە کوردستان مرکزیەتەکەی ئێمە زۆر چڕترە زۆر مرکزیانەترین. هەولێر هەموو شتێکە دەبێت هەموو شتێک بۆ بێتە هەولێر یعنی تەنانەت خەڵک بۆی لە هاتووە حساب بۆ مدیر عامەکەی تەندروستی و پەروەردە و ئانی شارەکەی ناکە لە بەرەوەی دەزانی شەکە ناڕۆ ئیلا هەدەبی لای وەزیریش ئەوەندە بەریدەی ڕۆژانەی بە 1000 توقیعی لە بەردەما توانای بیرکردنەوەی نەماوە. ئەوە با ئێمە لە ناو خۆمان لا مرکزیەتێک دروستکەین حکمی دروست و تەمکینی خوارە بکەین. خاڵەکانی تری کە باس کران دەلالەت یعنی ئەوانە ئێمەش باسمان کرد و بەڕێستانیش دەلالەت لە معقەدی ئیشەکان دەکات. مەفروض نییە ئێمەش خەڵکی ئەکادمی لە دەرەوەی حکومات بڵین بۆکو مەلایەکان دەرەکاکە ئەمر بە معروف بکەن بەخوا دەبیشتی چاک بە نەما هەر قسەی وامان کردووە. بەڵام معقەدە کە تو بڕۆ خۆت لە شوێنی حکومەتدانێ زۆر معقەدە بڕیار کۆمەڵێک فاکتەر بالانس لەبێ ڕابگری لە بەرەوەی کە لەو لایەوە کە شتێک چادەکە لەو لالێت تێک نەچی ئەوە زۆر معقەدە. بۆیە حکومەت پێویستی بە لە خۆگرتنی استراتیژ و نەخشە ڕێگای مەدروسە لەسەر بنەمای بەڵگا evidence based policy. لە ئینستیتیوتی مەرەی تازە لەگەر کۆمەڵێک تینکتانکی ئەوروپی و زانکۆ گرانتێکی ئەوروپیمان بە هۆرایزن 2020 پێڵەن وەرگرتووە بە کۆی گشتی هەشتنەوە زانکۆ و سنتەرین 2,500,000 یورۆیان تەرخان کردووە هەر یەکەی بە شۆکە بۆ دیراستکردنی ڕێگرتن لە توندوتیژی بە شکلی گلۆبالی بە بەراوردکردنی ئەفغانستان کوردستان و عێراق لەگەر مالی لەگەر مەسر بێزگە لەوەی کە لە ئەوروپا دەقەونێت. لە پەنای ئەوەدا ئێمە دەمانەوێت لە کوردستان خۆمان بزانین چ نەخشە ڕێگایەک پێش نیاز بکەین بۆ حکومەت بۆ کۆمەلگای مەدەنی بۆ بڕیاردەرانی هەموو دامەزراوەکان کە چۆن هەنگاو بە هەنگاو بە نەخشە ڕێگایشتی لێشخایەن لە هەمەتەوەرەوە بەرەو پێشەوەی بین. ئەمە ئیشی جیلێکە ئیشی حکومەتێک نییە بەڵام حکومەتێک لە 4 ساڵدا دەتوانێت بناغەی بۆدانێ ئەوانی تریش تەواوی بکەن ئیشی ئێمە دەبێت ڕێنیشاندانی حکومت بێ کە خەتواتی عملی چی بکە نەکشتی نەزەری و وەکو بڵین مەلای مزگەوت کە خۆی بە عملەکەی خۆشی ڕەنگە بە عملی نەکە هەر ئەمر بە معروف و نەهی لە منکەر بکە لە دواتریش لەو ساڵی ئەخیری بە هاوکاری و بە دەعمی پەیمانگای ئەمریکی United States Institute for Peace USIP گرانتێکیان وەرگرت لە حکومەتی ئەوێ ئێستا بەیەکەوە دیراسەیەکی مەیدانی تێروسەسەلمان ئەنجامدا تەواویش بووە لەو یەک دوو مانگەی داهاتوو راپۆرتەکانیش بڵاو دەکەینەوە کە باس لە سەبەبی نەگەڕانەوەی نازیحەکان بڵین ئاوارەکان وەختێک کە ڕاپرسیمان دەکرد بە سەدان کەس لێمان دەپرسین لە هەموو ئاستەکان وەختی مێزگردمان دەکرد و مقابلاتمان دەکرد دەردەکەوت چەند معقەدە هەر ئالێتی گەڕانەوەی ئەوان بۆ شوێنەکانیان کە لە حەوزی نینەوەیە ئەنی لە محافزەی نینەوەیە لەوەشدا لەو راپۆرتەشدا چوینە تەفسیلی ئەوەی کە حکومەتی هەرێم چی بکە نینەوە چی بکە بەغداد چی بکە وڵاتانی دەرەچی چی بکەن بۆیە ئەمە بە ئەو معقەدیە بەکەم نەزانین بەڵام معناوەش نییە شاخێکە خۆی لێ نەدەی با سەبەبی معقولیش نەدەینە خۆمان کە هیچ نەکەین نا سەبەبی معقول دەین کە نەخشەڕێگای 10 ساڵی دروستکەین بۆی ئەو وڵاتە بگوازینەوە لێرەوە لە بۆ حالەتێکی مستەقیل و خۆشگەزەرە.
Thank you. Dr. Sadegh?
Given the fact that everyone is tired and we want to finish, your colleagues are saying that enough is enough from behind. Just to be brief, I wholeheartedly disagree with you, my sister. Nationalism is a horrible disease. History is full of nationalism victims. But the point is that many of us, including you, we think that there are white nationalism, there are good nationalism, and those who are against us, they are bad. Abdel Nasser was a bad nationalism. Ba'ath Party is a bad nationalism. Nouri Maliki is a bad nationalism. Rajab Tayyip Erdogan is bad nationalism. Donald Trump is bad nationalism. We are good nationalists. We Kurds are good nationalists. No, nationalism is horrible. If that meeting was held in Tehran and people in an official meeting would have dared to not to speak Farsi, they would have been murdered. Because there are many people in Iran who are not like you, free of hijab, but they are with hijab, and they are Islamists, but they kill you if you don't speak in Farsi. And they regard it as an act of traitor if you speak English or any other language in Tehran other than Farsi. What's the difference between you and them? You condemn them, but then you advocate that in the middle of Erbil, we must speak Kurdish, and no, nationalism bad, nationalism horrible. Whether it is in Kurdish, whether it is in Arabic, Turkish, or whatever. Let us fight with nationalism and every aspect that it wants to present itself.
I think there's a confusion among a lot of people between patriotism and nationalism. I think that's really the difference there. Nationalism, as nowadays we hear, is bad at that sense. You only believe in your own language, nobody else. But patriotism, you love your language, you respect other people's languages, cultures, and all that. Thank you.
I have to apologize. No, I've been told very strictly, I don't know who's going to be more angry at me, those of you cutting it. I know that. I've been watching you too, but we're out of time. How fast can you do it?
As fast as you could imagine. Thank you very much. Dr. Heja Sindi, I teach management, and I'm the Dean of School of Business at the University of Kurdistan. I have one explanation very fast and one question to one of the esteemed panelists. Dr. Evian, موتوما شعار ما زانكوا كردستان سپاس بواتگوتی. Promoting Kurdistan region هو academic excellence. يعني أكاديمية كان نايب نطرسة لا يعني زانكوا وكو هريمي بيش بخت ما هي نتواتي وكرداتي وبيترزم موجودي. والقال هندجيم بإنجليزي جيت آخذين وهذا جيب بهديني زي قتل واستابا سوراني شفر برسياركم هي بو جنابي دكتور. بوشيكين. دكتور دلاورزو سباس argumenti جنابت لصاصات قسنديكم وأي باشي أكين كحكم راني باش وأكا stability هبه وإكستريميزم كما بوانيا أو يعني نامين بلام لروجيك لسيشنيكي brainstorming argumenti كي توزي سرنج راكيش هاتدي يأتي لأمادة بوان لو brainstorming سيشنيك من برايومل وتي هر ولاتك تقريبا صد كسيكي تيايا كبريار بدستن وهمو من بربرسين لحكم راني باش أخيرا والله ما بلاي مثلا 20 وزيرك تهيا 25 وكيل وزيرك تهيا 5 مدير عامك تهيا مدير ناحية who are the key players برأي جنابت بكرتي ووي أو تيجي فرمويت بتدي حكم راني باش بجسبه آية خلق نازاني كي بلاير كان بيست أما educate بكرين زياتر يعني شيء موضوعك أو أنا قرصة to place good governance to make it happen really. How can we operationalize it if possible? Spas.
I'm afraid I can't let you answer. You'll have to continue the discussions over lunch, lest we all get in trouble, especially me. Thank you very much.